Yeah, hi. So welcome to our presentation. I was just made aware not too long ago. I hadn't actually read the prompt very well, apparently. We had to record this regardless if we're doing a live video. So I'm doing that like right now. Okay, let's try to get through this real quick before class. Okay. Oh, and you just yeah, I never saw that. We never saw that. Okay. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be trying to according to our narrative, we have a mole that provided us with a shadow file. This shadow file is basically, what's actually the shadow file and the password file. You run a command called unshadow on it, and it allows you to crack the passwords that are in that file. Those passwords are for the users on that device. So that's kind of looking behind the curtain because we don't really need to know that. We just know that we have this file, right? It was provided to us by our mole. And then, and of course, here's our password hash here. It is salted, so you do need the password and the shadow file. And then, of course, which is it's already provided for us. We wouldn't need to worry about that part. And then we have a README. So the README is basically just going to say, hey, you have the file, and it's going to be accessing an externally facing machine on our network. And the machine's IP address is this guy right there. So we're going to remember that. I kind of have memorized 'cause I've been playing with this thing for a while, but we'll go ahead and leave this open just in case, right? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up a terminal, and we're going to work out of our desktop here. So we're going to cd desktop. All right, perfect. And then we're going to use John the Ripper. John the Ripper is a tool that takes those hashes, like I was showing you in that shadow file, and actually cracks them. So there's a whole list that it uses of like common passwords, and then there's also just brute force, right? So we're going to go ahead and we're going to use John the Ripper, and to do that we're going to do sudo John and then the name of our file, which is there you go. Cool. So that's there. This isn't going to work as intended. I've already ran this. Oh, I have already ran this command. So it basically tells us, hey, there are no passwords left to crack because it's already done the work on this guy. So in the actual write-up that we have, we did get a picture of it running for the first time. It'll basically, take a little while. I think it's like maybe like 2 minutes to crack. And then you'll get the password. In order to get this password, since we've already done this basically, and John the Ripper doesn't want to do any more work than it has to, we're gonna do sudo John. Actually, I could have just done that, and then tac show. Okay, great. So John has cracked our password, so we now have it. So this is the username, and this is the password. Nope. This is the password. A very secure password there. But that is the password and username that is going to be used for the externally facing machine at this IP address, right? So now, in order to use that information to our benefit, we could just SSH into the machine. That is definitely something we could do. But to give us a better toolkit and to be able to do a little better for ourselves, we're going to use Metasploit. So Metasploit is a really cool tool, and we're going to oh, it's not Metasploit, it's MSF console. And I always forget to do sudo on these. I think some things will work, some things won't, so let's just go ahead and do it and make everything work. Okay, this does take a little while, especially if it's the first time that you're doing this, it will take a while. When it starts up though, you'll know because you'll get a nice randomized little graphic there, some ASCII art, which is really good. Hey, we got a bunny. There you go. Oh, that's pretty cool actually. I really like that movie. Okay, anyway, so we are in Metasploit, and the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to open up a SSH console with this information on that machine. So the first thing we're going to do is, and I have two screens. I actually have some stuff over here on the side. So let's see. It's okay. So use auxiliary scanner SSH login. One of the things that I can point out about this, and let's actually do this real quick. Show exploits. This is going to take a second. The point here is that I might have actually had to do that before I did the use, but either way, Metasploit has a ton of exploits. So we're obviously going to be, there's kind of a folder structure to them, and we're going to be digging in kind of deep to get to this SSH login that we're trying to do. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that. Oh, yeah. See, so I guess because I'm trying to record all this stuff and stuff, it's taken a while, and I'm also running 3 VMs plus the host OS and everything. So there are all kinds of different exploits. That's why the names are so long on some of these guys, right? So we're going to go ahead, and now that we're in our SSH login, we're going to do show options. This is a very common command that we'll execute a lot. Basically, for this exploit, right, we're going to have all of these different variables that we can use. And the first ones that we're going to work with are here. Obviously, we're going to change the password, the username, and the R hosts. So the R host is actually the like the target IP address. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to do that by using the set command. So we're going to do set. Okay, so that's our username that we got earlier. Boom. Okay, so that one's good. Set our password. Okay, awesome. So one important thing here is obviously we are, and I don't want to get too much into this because this isn't a networking class, but we are on an IP address that can talk to this. So I believe this Kali box is on 10.0.2.21. So these can talk to each other, so we're good there. That's not an issue. If obviously, if you didn't have the ideal setup, you'd want to make sure that that was true first. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is now that we have all of our password and username and all of our settings done, is we're going to go ahead and hit exploit. Cool. So we now have our exploit, and we basically have a SSH like window, an SSH terminal, excuse me, in that machine. Now, if you want to go ahead and this kind of looks like some gobbledygook, but basically, hey, success, and then we can go ahead and do the sessions command, and that'll show us, yep, we have a shell. It's on a Linux system, like we were talking about earlier. It's an Ubuntu system, right? And then we're going to go ahead and use that in a bit here. So the next tool that we're going to use for Metasploit, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do a use. Let me get that out of the way. We're going to do use, and we're going to do shell to Meterpreter. Um, oh, I think I butchered that spelling. Meterpreter. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so it complained a little bit because I didn't use like the full long name, but that's fine. This works. It was specific enough to work. Um, okay, so now we're basically going to try to elevate. Had we just gone in and SSH'd, we would have gotten the exact same shell that we would have here. But what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to use some stuff in the Metasploit toolkit to make this work. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually raise that shell to a Meterpreter shell, which is the like the term given to it from Metasploit, right? Let's go ahead and do a show options on this guy. Okay, so this one has far less parameters. All we need really is the session parameter. So let's go ahead and set session, and you will notice that over here in active sessions, this is why I did this guy, our ID is 1 for that Linux shell. So let's go ahead and set that to 1. All right, all good. So then let's go ahead and run the exploit. Exploit. And we wait for a bit, and let's see. Okay, so, okay, so I've been using, let's see, I think it still worked. Yes, okay, cool. So we upgraded our session, right? So this now, we jumped off of this shell, and we now have a Meterpreter shell. So that's really important. This is going to give us a lot more use of a lot of different tools. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go hop into that Meterpreter shell. And the way that we're going to do that is by using the session ID. So we're going to do sessions. We're going to do attack I for interact because I want to go interact with session 2. Okay, so it started the interaction with session 2, and now I have a Meterpreter shell open. The first thing that I want to do is I'm going to run ipconfig. And this actually did confuse me at first as well. ipconfig is usually the Windows term, and ifconfig is usually the Linux one. But regardless of the fact that we are on a Linux machine, we are going to run ipconfig because this is a terminology that Meterpreter uses. So we can see on here a few things. The first thing is obviously the loopback address. We don't really care about that. That's like for talking to yourself. The next thing is the IP address here that we use to talk to the actual VirtualBox machine. This would be considered like our external facing IP address. So that external facing IP address is what we're using right now, but it's also connected to another NIC, another network interface. And this one is on a whole different subnet and a whole different IP address schema and everything. Sorry, excuse me, I was getting called on their side. I apologize. Okay, so we have a whole other schema, we have a whole other thing, but we can basically only talk to this guy, right? So like if I go open up another, should I do it? Yeah, I should do it. Let's just do it real quick. I open up another terminal and I do an if config. Oh, of course not. Okay. IPA. Yeah, the new the new way of doing ifconfig is this, right? So you can see that we are on a 10.0.2, and this can never talk to a 192.168, at least not without some kind of router between them. In this case, we're assuming there's no router between them. But what we can do is we can make a router between them. So because we can talk to this address, we can't talk to this address. We're going to go ahead and we're going to use another interpreter tool, and we're going to do run auto routes. And then I think there's a TAC S here. Yep, TAC S. And that's just, I don't actually know what that one means. You use it whenever you're setting, I guess. So maybe it's set. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to auto route to this address right here. And we're going to do that. So 192. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the /24. So what this means, I'm sure, obviously if it's the professor watching this, I apologize because I'm boring you with some stuff, but just in case for anybody else, when you're doing IP address stuff, your subnet mask is going to be this guy. This is 8 bytes, this is 8 bytes, this is 8 bytes, and this is 8 bytes. So if you have a /24, you're basically saying that all of these are locked down, which is the exact same thing that you're doing here, right? So 8888, you're getting 24. It's the exact same thing that you're doing here. It's just this written in a different notation. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to run this command. Okay, awesome. So it did go ahead and it added the route, which is good. So we're routing to this address via this address. We're going to go ahead and do this real quick. We're going to see all the active routes. So we're going to, actually, can I do, hey, that worked. Cool. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to run auto route. Cool. Okay, so we can see that through our session 2, which is that Meterpreter shell that we're currently on, we now have a route. That is fantastic. Okay, now the next thing that we're going to do is now that we are officially routed in, so we basically have our way through this IP address, this interface, we're routed through that machine, and we're getting into the actual corporation, intranet, not internet, intranet, right? So this isn't available to everybody. This is only available to us right now because we are, exploiting this machine and we're getting access to this stuff. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to run a scan of all the different ports that are available on this guy. Now, I have my little cheat sheet over here. Give me one sec, because I just... Okay, yeah, what I'm looking for is this. Okay, so we're going to use another tool. It's auxiliary. Okay. I know it's auxiliary, but it's easier to say auxiliary because that's how you actually spell it, right? So auxiliary, scanner port scan TCP. So in this case, we're going to be looking for something that we can do with, oh no, what happened? Oh, did I not spell scanner port scan TCP? I think I might have misspelled auxiliary, but I have it that way in my notes. Give me one sec. Oh no, I can't spell. That's not good. Ah, no, that looks right. Come on, guy. Okay, so I have realized that I'm a giant dork. What I forgot to do was I was entering Metasploit commands on a Meterpreter shell, which this guy was like, I don't know anything about what you're talking about. So the first thing we have to do before we enter that command, sorry about this, guys, is we have to background this guy. So this Meterpreter shell, we want it to just go away, go sit somewhere else. We're not going to kill it, but we are going to, because obviously it's how we're going to get around. But we are going to put it in the background. So, okay, cool. So now we're using that in the background. Okay, and let me see if I'm lucky. Hey, cool. Okay, so I don't have to type that again. Awesome. So we're going to use the auxiliary scanner, port scan, TCP. Awesome. Okay, cool. So now we're going to start port scanning through that auto route that we did. And the first thing we got to do is we got to show options. Okay, so we're going to have to change a few things here. The first thing is, or actually just two. The first thing is obviously the address. So we're going to try to scan everything on that 192.168. We want to scan everything on there. Again, this is a networking thing, but because this is unlocked and these are all locked down, basically we can talk to anything on 192.168.0 and then XX, right? Whatever this guy is. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to scan all those ports real quick. So we're going to set the R hosts, right? And of course, again, we're doing the same, net mask to specify we want to iterate through this one, but keep these the same. Cool. Okay, so that's good. And then we're going to change the ports as well, just to save ourselves a little bit of time. We're specifically looking for a web server, and if we really wanted to, we could say that in the narrative, the mole told us that they had a web server that could have been really good for us to get into, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to set ports to 80, which is for HTTP, and 443, which is for HTTPS. And we're going to do that, and then we're going to run the exploit. This one will take some time because you're literally iterating through all of these guys and checking both of these ports, trying to see if there's an open port on those. And oh, hey, look, we got one. Cool. So we got basically that at 192.168.0.13, we have an open TCP port, right? And that is on port 80. Now, we could let this finish running, but for the sake of time, I actually know this is where I set it up, and I intentionally set it up kind of in low numbers. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to just kill that. I just did a Control C. Okay, so now we have our IP address for the web server. So remember when I was talking about, and granted, this is of course stuff you're not going to be able to see if you were actually doing this exploit, but we have two different Ubuntu machines. This is the one that we're compromising right here, right? This is the user one. This is the one that we have the password, we're SSH'd into, we're running the auto route through. And then this is the one on the intranet that we're currently trying to get to. So we now have the IP address for that guy. So what we're going to go do is we're going to hop back over into sessions. That Linux shell is still up. So we're going to go back into that SSH and we're going to do sessions interact with one. I am sure if Dr. Costa is watching this that he knows a much, much, much better way to do this, but we couldn't figure it out. So one of my group mates actually spent a lot of time and made a little HTML thing, and it looks really nice and it's great, but we can't actually display it with HTML because, you know, we're on a command line. So I'm sure there's a way to do it, but I don't know how. So this is a shell here, right? And we can type stuff in. It doesn't have the prompt or anything, which is a little, harder to work with. But what we're basically going to do is we're going to do a wget because we know that this is an HTML thing, right? We're going to do a wget and we're going to do it on that IP address. We don't need to specify the port because wget is basically for HTTP stuff. So it's going to try to do port 80. Okay, so it connected on port 80, right? So we see that. It did the HTTP request. It did all that kind of good stuff. It's saving to index, and I probably should have deleted the other one because we have it already twice. But I'm just going to go ahead and use index.html. It'll be .1 here, but that's okay. I literally just ran through this, so let's go to that. Do that. So let's go ahead and let's do cat index.html. Okay, awesome. So this is literally, and this is what I'm talking about, right? So we're seeing a web page, right? This is literally HTML, but we can't view it. So matter of fact, let me pull that up real quick so you can see what this would look like. This is a server. The credentials of this one doesn't matter. I just cloned the other server, so it's the same thing. But we can go. This is actually on the server, obviously, and we'll just use that loopback address. Boom. So this is where our umbrella network goes to, right? This is what we're looking at. Basically, we have the username, the password, and just a login, right? So if we go back and we look at our Kali box, we have enter credentials. Here's the image that we're looking at, that umbrella one, the username, password, and then the login button. But we've gotten really, really, really lucky because we have someone who didn't know a whole lot about security, and they actually put their credentials and login stuff in JavaScript, which is client side. If we get the username and password right, we can see that it's going to go to search.html. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do a wget, and we're going to do 192.168.0.13, and then we're going to do slash search.html. Okay, cool. So again, it's saving to .1, but I already have it open. So we're going to go ahead and do cat search.html. So basically what it's doing is it's pulling the HTML as text and saving it into a file called, in this case, search.html on your local directory. So we would go ahead and see this. And now we can see here that this is going to say, this is a style sheet, so that's not too much. You have your logo, and then it says, click to see evil files. That looks very, very, very suspicious. And we can see that this button, this form, it'll actually go to this address, info/evil.txt. So let me actually show you because I feel kind of bad as well that we're not gonna we're not gonna really see the thing. So you're to log in, right? Umbrella. I felt kind of bad because he spent a lot of time on this. Secret. Oh, and then we log in. Cool, yeah, we're not going to save that. We're going to click to see evil files. Perfect. Okay, oh, we're not supposed to see this yet. Just kidding. Okay, so this is what we're looking at right now. That's the page that we're looking at in HTML versus here. So we're going to go ahead and go back to our Kali box. Okay, so we are smart and we know HTML, so we know that this is something of interest, right? We're going to click to see evil files, the equivalent of it, right? So we're going to do one more wget, one more, I promise. And then we're going to do 192.168.0, and I apologize if you can hear my heater kicking on. It's kind of chilly today, actually. So, yeah. Info evil.txt. Okay, so again, that's saved, so we're good there. And let's do cat. Oh. cool. Oh, so okay. So this was our placeholder file, but actually our new evil file. I'm gonna just you pretend you didn't see that. Um, we now have a memo coming from the Umbrella Corporation director to the rest of the Umbrella Corporation. It's top secret, obviously, right? Because you don't want to disclose your plans for your world domination with everybody. But basically, these are their plans. They want to build weapons of mass destruction targeting all the world's superpowers. And here we go. This is the smoking gun. We now have our evil files that prove that the Umbrella Corporation is evil and that the director is clearly evil. And they're not good guys. So we can go and according to our narrative, we're working for the good guys, right? So we can go get all the law enforcement people over there and take these guys down. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. I'm sorry that was kind of long, probably much longer than I intended. But thank you very much for following along. Metasploit is a really great tool, and I've had a lot of fun using it. And thank you very much. Have a good one. Bye bye.